Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to this webinar about PNE, Precise Nutrition Evaluation, a raw material decision-making tool. Precise Nutrition Evaluation is our web platform that allows the prediction of raw material nutrient contents. It is based on NIR technology, and it allows the prediction of an important set of nutrients such as proximates, energy, amino acids, and minerals for a wide variety of raw materials. During this webinar, if you have any questions related to our subject, do not hesitate to send us an email on the email address appearing on the screen. So during this webinar, we will have more details about PNE offers and also how it works and about NIR technology with our expert of NIR, Vincent Lara. Welcome.
Thank you, Labibé.
And also during this webinar, we will discuss about raw material composition and the importance of predicting raw materials with Sabrina van de Plas. Welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you.
So you are expert in raw materials, Sabrina.
Yes.
So we will start with you, Sabrina. As an expert of raw materials, can you tell us what is the importance of predicting raw materials and how are these raw materials used to fulfill animal needs?
Yes, Labibé, we know that to reach the best animal performance, all the animal nutrient requirements should be fulfilled. But what are these requirements exactly? First of all, the animal needs energy, of course, for its metabolism, which is supplied mainly by cereals as the principal ingredients in the diet. There are also animal or vegetable protein sources that are included to supply the amino acids. And then regarding the micronutrients, such as minerals and vitamins, they are mainly supplied in the form of synthetic sources included in premixes. And those premixes are formulated based on the animal needs and incorporated at low level in the diet.
So, Sabrina, what are today the main raw materials that are used?
Yes, first of all, the main protein sources for in animal diet worldwide is soybean meal, which is a co-product of oil extraction industry. And but other sources of vegetable protein can be more or less predominant according to their availability, to the market price, for instance. And I could notice rapeseed meal or sunflower cake, for instance. But some animal sources of protein can be also used, which are derived from the food industry, such as fish meal and meat and bone meals. And they are used especially for young animals because they need a higher protein quality. And then regarding the energy, the most commonly used cereal is corn in the world, but others can be used, such as wheat, barley, or sorghum, for instance. And it depends on the diet transition, their availability, or market price also. But regarding the cereals, the energy content is often insufficient to supply enough energy, so it is recommended to add a supplemental additional fat in the form of animal or vegetable oil.
Okay, so Sabrina, we just saw with you that there is a variety of raw material that can be used in animal diets.
Yeah.
But how can we know which raw material to choose?
Yes, it's a challenge for the feed mill nutritionist because he have to formulate a balanced diet with several raw materials, and so it is very important for him or her to have access to the exact nutrient profile of those raw materials in order to select the most appropriate ones to formulate a specific diet. So raw material characterization is really crucial in order to maximize the value that the nutritionist can expect based on these ingredients' purchasing price.
Okay, so we saw with you that it is important to know raw material composition to make the right choices of raw materials. And in the beginning of this webinar, we have seen that PNE is a tool that can answer this need and then that can predict raw materials. Maybe Vincent, can you give us more details about PNE and what it is and
Okay, yeah. As we just mentioned before, when receiving raw materials, so the feed millers need the full characterization of their composition and nutritional value. And Adisseo PNE service is a solution that provides such characterization in real time. Basically, it's a web platform that relies on the NIR spectroscopy, as you introduced before. So basically, you just take a sample representative of your raw material that you mill and that you measure on the NIR machine. And the resulting scan or spectrum is then uploaded onto the web platform. And right after, you get a full set of nutrients that are predicted by the PNE equations. And this set of parameters include proximate parameters. It includes some minerals, some amino acids, digestibility, as well as energy parameters as well. And it's available for a wide variety of raw materials, ranging from cereals and crops, cereal byproducts, to meals and animal byproducts as well.
Okay, so Vincent, we saw with you here the PNE offer, and you also mentioned when you were describing this tool that it is based on NIR technology. So what is NIR, and can you maybe give us more details about it and how does it work?
Yes. So NIR stands for near infrared, and this is a spectroscopic technique that uses the portion of the light that is located right after the red in the wavelength range. So when the NIR light is shined on a sample, a part of that light will interact with the vibrations of the molecules which are inside the sample. And since each molecule has its own vibration modes and frequency, all the different molecules will absorb the light in a different way. And these absorptions are then recorded and detected by the NIR instruments. And the result is a spectrum or a scan that is unique to that given molecule. This is what we commonly call the fingerprint, because it's the signature of that molecule. And then when it comes to a more complex material, such as feed ingredients that contain quite a lot of different constituents like moisture, protein, amino acids, and so on and so on. So the NIR takes into account the contribution of each of these constituents, and the resulting spectrum it contains the information of all of them.
Okay, so if I resume, the spectrum contains lots of information about raw material composition. Yeah. But Vincent, there's something. So how are this spectral information used to provide quantitative information?
Well, that's a key point about NIR spectroscopy. That is, it's able to provide some quantitative determinations. But to do that, it requires that we build up some databases with reference sample. By reference sample, I mean samples that were analyzed by the reference methods. And these databases are used to prepare what we call calibrations or equations that are used to kind of translate the spectrum into figures, into predicted parameters. So this is this process of calibration development is Adisseo know-how. The NIR databases used in the PNE rely on data that were collected over the past 20 years to provide an extensive set of quantitative parameters that qualify the raw material. For instance, in a single spectrum of corn, we can get access through the PNE to proximate parameters, namely dry matter, protein, fat, to amino acids, individual amino acids such as methionine or lysine, amino acids digestibility, apparent metabolizable energy, and also to phytic or available phosphorus. And these parameters are readily available within just a couple of minutes. And that's the great advantage about NIR spectroscopy. It is fast. If you want to have the same type of characterization using the traditional method, you may take a few days or even weeks to get similar characterization. And also, we can notice that NIR is also non-destructive. You can reuse the sample, requires little preparation of the sample, and does not need any reagent or consumable.
Okay, so you just mentioned many advantages of this NIR technology, and you also mentioned some advantages of the PNE service, such as it can allow real-time predictions, and also it allows to do more analysis in a shortened period of time. So I will maybe ask Sabrina about that. So when we have raw materials in a feed mill, is it necessary to analyze each raw material which is entering the feed mill, or can we maybe focus on averages?
No, it's not so simple, because the problem of raw material is of conventional or more opportunistic ones is that they are characterized by a high variability in their nutritional value. And such feedstuff variability is neither easy to anticipate nor to assess, because there are many factors that are implied. Many, it's a small word, because first of all, of course, the most obvious cause of variation is the feedstuff intrinsic factors, such as the genetics, the contamination by pathogens or toxins, but also the presence of anti-nutritional factors. But there are also the culture and harvest conditions that have been reported, such as the climate, the country of origin, or the chemical prevention, as well as storage conditions. Then maybe the most critical point is the processing, such as grinding, pelleting, or extraction, for instance, because they involve physicochemical treatments that can affect the nutrient interactions, and as well as can induce loss in protein and nutrient quality in general. So it's very difficult to just those factors to imagine the impact that can have on the feedstuff quality. And I have to mention also that the rearing condition can also have impact, because for instance, the health status of the animal, the sanitary and environmental conditions, and the animal related factors such as the age and the health of the animals can also explain part of the measured variability.
Okay, so that's lots of factors that can impact raw material nutrient contents. So
yes, but it's not only the nutrient contents that can impact. They can be impacted by these factors, because we must keep in mind that the nutritional value of a diet does not refer only to the nutrient concentrations, such as protein, fat, or starch, for instance, but above all to the capability of the animal to use these ingredients, which is expressed by the concept of nutrient digestibility. And similarly, for the energy bioavailability of a diet is expressed as its metabolizable energy, which is assessed through the apparent metabolizable energy parameter in poultry and the net energy measurement in swine.
Okay.
So maybe I can show you some graph that provide some example of the variability. Yeah. So the first graph show an example of the variability in the apparent metabolizable energy value that are reported in literature and reference tables. And it highlights the differences in several reference values that are accessible to the nutritionist, and so the issue to select the most appropriate one for a specific diet composition. And a second graph show you another example of the variability in protein digestibility. That's what observed among 17 soybean meals. All the samples were from the same country of origin and were collected in a short period of about 2 months.
Okay. So Sabrina, you just showed us the importance that knowing and detect the raw material variability. And so Vincent, maybe you can tell us how a tool such as PNE can reflect this variability that was described by Sabrina.
Yes, as you just mentioned, the raw materials have inherent variability, and this variability must be taken into account in the PNE equations to have robust and accurate equations. So NIR is a learning technique, and as such, it must be trained by samples having quite different characteristics from different origins and coming from all parts of the world, I would say. So that's why Adisseo and the PNE equations rely on equations that are made with the collections and a regular update of the databases with worldwide samples collected a little bit everywhere. And this is to guarantee a good robustness of these PNE equations. And of course, all these samples that are eventually added to the database and to the PNE equations must be characterized by the reference method.
Okay, and I guess that this reference method should be well managed if you want to have equations that to get precise results.
Well, absolutely, you're right. And all wet chemical reference methods are validated and are checked regularly by proficiency testings, which are organized by independent material. And as you just said, this is also what guarantees the accuracy and the robustness of the PNE NIR determinations. And in most cases, the precision that is given by the PNE prediction is comparable with the precision given by the reference method. So to illustrate this, we can come back on the example of corn samples. So in this graph, we have we can see the prediction value given by PNE for the metabolizable energy of 15 corn samples, and these values are highly correlated with the values given by the reference method. And what is also interesting to notice in that example is that the reference method is an in vivo method, and actually for digestibility and energy, the NIR predictions should rely on this in vivo method for good precision and accuracy. And I would like to emphasize on this point, that is to say, NIR predictions that rely on in vivo assays and in vivo data, because it's one unique offer from the PNE service. And this is quite important, pretty important, because we can see in this graph that the amino acids and amino acids digestibility, here it's the case of lysine in soybean meal, they are poorly correlated with proximate parameters such as nitrogen or protein. So we cannot rely on these proximate parameters to predict accurately the digestibility. So that's why we need to rely on in vivo methods. And Adisseo organize some tests, some assays on their facility to get some data directly from pigs and poultry to feed this method for digestibility.
Okay, so you mentioned here, Vincent, that it is very important to have accurate results. Maybe Sabrina, you can tell us what are the impact of non-accurate results on feed mills?
Yes, it's really important to have accurate feedstuff quality value because a wrong assessment will entail the risk of overestimation or underestimation of the real quantity of each nutrient that is really used by the animal. So that will result in lower performance in the case of overestimation and in the increased excretion of non-absorbed nutrients in the feces in the case of underestimation, with the resulting economic loss that you can imagine and also the environmental problems. So we have a trial to show the result of the impact of the feedstuff quality and the method used to estimate the nutritional value. Because in this trial, a broiler diet was prepared with either a low or high quality corn and soybean meal. And each diet was also formulated based on nutritional specification coming from proximate analysis or from the values provided by the NIR estimates. And the performance results show clearly that both the estimation method and the feedstuff quality can impact the feed intake, the feed conversion ratio, the performance index, and will show significant differences in the total feed cost per kilo live weight gained.
Okay, so we just saw with you, Sabrina, that the importance of predicting raw materials and knowing the composition of these raw materials, and also that a wrong estimation of this raw material composition can have impact on animal performances, but also on feed costs.
Yeah.
So it is the role of each actor of a feed mill to deal with this variability and to be able to manage this raw material variability.
Exactly.
And PNE is a tool that can be used by nutritionists, by raw material purchasers, and by quality managers. So let's listen together to this video about the benefits of PNE for each one of these actors. Let's listen together to our technical experts who will tell us how PNE is used by the different feed mill actors.
Hello everyone, I'm Claire Xu from Adisseo Asia Pacific, and for the past 3 years working in Adisseo, I travel a lot among the countries in our region. So I'm happy to see that our PNE users are actually getting the benefits from our service. So I can just share with you an example. We have a user in Indonesia. They have some problem to purchase the meat and bone meal because they found that the fat level is very crucial for their decision making, because they find that if the fat level in the meat and bone meal is too high, they may have some problem for the during the transportation and storage. So once I introduced them that you can use my PNE to do the trend analysis. So they actually use this function to do trend analysis for the past 2 years. And using this tool, they find that maybe in some quarter of the whole year, they can find a good supply of the meat and bone meal with a moderate or suitable level of the fat content. So with this PNE results, they are able to decide which time or which quarter is a better time to buy in their meat and bone meal supply. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Elisabeth Bourgueil, Technical Advisor for South Europe. We used to promote PNE among customers through big integrators, poultry integrators, and it was quite convincing, it seems, because one of the biggest poultry integrator in Spain decided to split all his plants with NIR machines standardized with our equations. And by the way, he was able to choose and to select soybean meals that he received from everywhere to formulate on the basis of our data and to check for the variability amongst the population of some soybean meals he received regularly, and to be able to, by this way, to formulate on a more accurate basis on digestible amino acids on our equation in vivo based versus equations that he had in the past.
Good morning, my name is Marcio Cantini. I'm working at Adisseo. It's a pleasure to be here in the Feed channel to talk about PNE. PNE is the NIR program Adisseo has been provided to their customers last years. And specifically this last year, we launched the MyPNE, which is a new tool in this site that allows to our customer to do statistically on their results. It's a quite good tool to quality managers, to the lab, to evaluate their raw materials and give them to the possibility to do in a very fast way to select product, to select suppliers, to split products on their feed mills. It means that they could receive a truck for corn, for example. Depends the quality, depends the result, depends the origin. They can do the statistically very fast on that and use one silo or another to store this product. That allows us to the rest of the chain, the nutritionist, the feed farmer, the feed mill, to save a lot of money and do a very precise work. And it's a good tool all the customers of Adisseo has available in their hands.
So we just saw with our technical experts how PNE can be used by the different members of a feed mill, such as the nutritionists, the quality managers, and also the raw material purchasers. So to improve our user experience, we have been working on a new PNE platform. So let's see together some of the new features of this new PNE platform. So on this video, the first page that we will get once we get connected to the platform is this dashboard that we can see here on your screen. So it shows the PNE activity over the last 30 days. So please note that all the numbers that you are seeing here on the screen are fake ones and just dedicated to this demonstration. So the second section here, each user will be able to see his result history. On the left side, we can see some filters, so each user can filter his results, so by date or by status to get their results easily, and also they can access their PNE report on this page. As we have said before, PNE is a decision-making tool, so it allows the purchaser, the quality manager, and the raw material and the nutritionist, to make the right decisions. As we can see here on the graph, this control chart allows quality managers to detect abnormal samples. This feature here, the pivot table, is used by nutritionists to see their nutritional matrix, and this table can be customized as we want. A cross-the-border feature can be used by all PNE users. So this feature allows to benchmark each user results comparing PNE data. So here we can see on the screen a table, a comparison between our own results compared to a country and to a worldwide average. Finally, for this statistics section, we can see here for raw material purchasers can compare their suppliers thanks to this chart that we are seeing here on the screen. Another new feature of this new PNE platform is the help and support section, which contains all the information needed about PNE, how it works, and how to make the best benefits of this tool. So as we can see also here on the screen. Another benefits of the PNE platform is that it can, and because saving time is crucial, PNE can be connected to other softwares thanks to PNE APIs, and I will let Vincent give us more details about PNE APIs.
Well, these APIs allow an optimal integration of the PNE in the feed miller environment. So on one hand, PNE can be connected to the software of the NIR instrument to directly and automatically create some prediction requests as soon as the sample is scanned and measured, and this is mostly to avoid taking too much time. And on the other hand, with other type of APIs, then the NIR results can be directly transferred to the LIMS software to minimize handling errors of the data.
Okay, so we can see with this new platform and with this APIs lots of progress, Vincent.
Yes, l'ABB PNE evolves as demonstrated by the launch of the new platform with the new features. And as technology and process changes, PNE will follow this evolution. And one way of evolution could be a more integrated solution in the whole feed manufacturing process. And this could be achieved, for example, and we just talked about that previously by better software integration. Or one can think as well about using some the new generation of small and compact NIR device, or potentially by using some more inline NIR captors to monitor the feed manufacturing process, or to couple also the NIR technique with other techniques to benefit from both worlds, I would say.
Okay, so we can see lots of progress in NIR technologies, as you have mentioned, and lots of progress with this new PNE platform. And you also said that the environment is evolving. And when we say an environment is evolving, we can say that also we have evolving challenges. Maybe, Sabrina, can you give us more details about, or if I can say, an overview of the challenges that feed millers can face?
Yes, we can see that the feed market is evolving. So the world population, the living standards are continuously increasing, while the land availability for new crops is limited. The regulatory restrictions also are increasingly leading to stagnating production of some of feedstuff. For instance, as observed with the fish meal due to fishing quotas, or the meat and bone meal due to the ban in the livestock feed in Europe. There are also the growing volatility of raw material that is an issue. And more countries are trying now to reduce their dependence on imported raw materials, such as with soybean meal. And finally, I would say also the problem of the ban of preventive antibiotics in the animal diets that lead to increased occurrence of this bacteriosis at the farm level and health challenge. So all these conjunctures have led to increasing need and effort to develop new alternative ingredients, such as legumes of leaf protein or byproduct from the food industry, for instance. And this will induce more and more need to accurate prediction and accurate estimation of the real nutritional value of raw materials. So these trends will certainly make the management of feed formulation more complex in the future. So that it will be really important to support the feed millers with that kind of problematics, especially regarding the nutrient digestibility of such compost diet. And also I have to mention the feed additives such as enzymes and probiotics that are more and more used in the feed formulation in order to reduce the undigested part of the diet and to manage it, to take care of the functioning of the intestine, so that the feed formulators would need more and more support to provide an exact profile of the nutrient content of the feedstuff and to manage the diet formulation and the nutrient absorption by the animal. But such evaluation is actually reachable thanks to PNE and the NIR predictions.
Thank you, Sabrina, for this overview of the main challenges that feed millers are facing. As you have mentioned, PNE is a tool that can help in facing these challenges. So if we resume, we saw during this webinar that PNE is a tool with lots of benefits. So let's remind some of them and the principal ones. So PNE is a real-time tool. So it allows the prediction of raw material composition, and we can get this composition in few seconds. It is also an accurate tool, and as we have seen with you, Vincent, during this webinar, because it is based on reference methods that are validated and recognized, and also it is based on in vivo methods to allow to know the raw material composition. So the digestibility of raw materials.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And finally, PNE is a decisive tool thanks to its statistic section. So it allows each member of a feed mill to make the right decisions. So it is the end of this webinar. I would like to thank you, Vincent, and thank you, Sabrina, for your participation and for your knowledge sharing. I would also like to thank all our technical experts who have gave their testimonials during this webinar, and all the persons who were indirectly involved in this webinar. I would also like to remember you that if you have any question, do not hesitate to send us an email on the email address appearing on your screens. So thank you for watching, and for more webinars, stay tuned on feedchannel.online. Bye bye.